soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you.
Naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
The military operation was codenamed Overlord. Ordinary people call it D-Day. But it was on this day, 72 years ago, more than 160,000 Allied troops risked it all in an attempt to liberate Nazi-occupied Europe. 2 years of intense planning, preparation, and dry runs all came down to a massive roll of the dice for the Supreme Allied Commander, General Dwight D. Eisenhower. For the invasion of Normandy to succeed, the largest amphibious assault in history, the Allies needed two key things to happen. Number one, complete surprise. The German defenders could not know when or where the invasion was to take place. And number two, perfect conditions. A rare combination of low tides to support the landing craft and good weather for aerial operations in the form of a cloudless sky.
And as the English Channel weather made a drastic turn for the worse in the early days of June 1944, the pressure only intensified on General Eisenhower, the one man about to make the biggest decision on the pivotal day of the 20th century.
The Normandy invasion involved formulating deception plans, building artificial harbors, figuring out how to send 12,000 planes, 7,000 vessels, 24,000 paratroopers into the heart of enemy territory, plus land over 100,000 ground troops on a heavily defended 50-mile stretch of Hitler's Atlantic Wall, peppered with concrete fortifications guarded by millions of mines, tank traps, barbed wire. The original assault date was June 5th, but on May 30th, Allied headquarters started receiving unfavorable weather forecasts, predicting impossible, turbulent conditions to cross the fickle English Channel. So, the decision was made to postpone the assault.
Meanwhile, General Eisenhower agonized privately over what was at stake if the Allies failed to invade that first week of June in 1944. Secrecy would be lost, the mission could be compromised, the troops would all have to be unloaded, disembarked, and then certainly morale would drop, and morale would also be affected on the home front in the British Isles and America as well. Plus, waiting even just one more month would have given German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel ample time to further strengthen the Nazi fortifications. Plus, when you consider the Germans were leading the way in the development of certain secret weapons such as long-range rockets and jet fighters, these were weapons that could have very seriously prolonged the war for at least another year or two.
If Eisenhower moves forward, despite the inclement conditions, the high winds and rough seas could be disastrous. Capsized landing craft, missing paratroopers, tens of thousands of Allied lives lost, and destroying any chance of liberation in 44. But if he postpones, the possible consequences could be just as deadly. So on June the 4th, with heavy rain and high winds pelting Allied headquarters, the generals gathered at 4:15 a.m. for their daily briefing and the latest weather forecast. Eisenhower was informed there would be a temporary break on the 6th of June and maybe part of the 7th. The Allied commanders were divided. Half wanted to wait for an absolute weather guarantee. The other half wanted to roll the dice and take their chances.
So in the end, the final decision rested on the shoulders of just one man. And witnesses claim that General Eisenhower sat for nearly a full minute in complete silence, the other Allied commanders around him, and finally announced, "Okay, let's go." In his own way, General Dwight D. Eisenhower personifies what it means to burn the boats, the biggest leap of faith you can imagine, upon which hinged the fate of the entire free world. Burning the boats, legend has it, it dates back to the Spanish conqueror Cortez, who somewhere around the 1500s, when he would invade certain islands in the Caribbean, ordered his men to blow up the ships they came in on. That way, it would prevent them from even considering the possibility of retreat. There was only one way forward. Attitudinally, burning the boats was something that the Allied armies had to employ here at Omaha Beach, as well as the other beaches of the Normandy invasion. Now, on June 6, 1944, D-Day, the fighting was at its heaviest, casualties were at their highest rate here, the American sector called Omaha Beach. And you can see from the German fortifications in the cliffs behind us why it was such an imposing defensive position and why the Allies had such trouble maintaining this particular beach. That being said, there was no turning back. Burning the boats, much more than just a metaphorical mindset, was a reality for the Americans, the Canadians, and the British, who were part of the 100,000 plus army that invaded France on D-Day. And in that instance, there was no option in terms of jumping back into those landing craft and heading back across the English Channel. There was only one way forward, and it was to conquer each and every position that was in front of them, and once those positions were conquered, to keep moving until the German army would finally be driven out of France. Burning the boats is an incredibly powerful metaphor on both a personal and professional level as well. It means, quite frankly, to forsake all other options. There is no plan B when you're in a burning the boats mindset. So on a personal level, whether it's dropping to one knee to propose, a professional level, maybe it's forsaking that security of a long-term job in favor of following an entrepreneurial dream. At some point, for your wildest success to come true, burning the boats will have to enter into the reality in terms of facing fear, moving forward, and getting the job done no matter what obstacles are presented your way.
Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.